And welcome into our Thursday installment of What's New. Thanks so much for spending time with us. Alongside Betsy Kling, I'm Jay Crawford. Betsy, a very good Thursday to you.
Good Thursday afternoon to you, too. We have a little bit of bad news to start with today. We begin with breaking news that famous Cleveland radio personality Mike Trivisano has died. The beloved and polarizing radio host on WTAM 1100 died today. That's where our Lena Lai is right now. And Lena, what do we know so far?
Yeah, we're still getting more information, but I got to tell you, a very large fan base and his colleagues here at WTAM studios in mourning over the passing of Mike Trivisano this afternoon. Friends tell me that he passed away in his garage just hours before he was to come into the studios here to host his daily show, The Mike Trivisano Show. Friends believe that he may have suffered a heart attack, but they're still waiting for details. Many of his colleagues here are just shaken because they had just talked to him on the phone and then he was gone. Mike Trivisano, Triv, as he was known, began his radio career in Cleveland in 1987 for a number of radio stations, but has been a longtime afternoon radio host, hosting his namesake radio show here at WTAM. You said that he was polarizing and beloved. And I got to tell you, it really was his tell it like it is persona that had people either loving him or hating him. But either way, people listened. And his well-known phrase, "I'm living in a world I truly don't understand," really resonated with a lot of his listeners who just like to talk about the current events and the polarizing events recently within our nation. Triv was also well known for his generosity, spending years advocating and organizing his Coats for Kids campaign. Program director Ray Davis telling us that he, over the years, has raised millions of dollars for the Cleveland community. A lot of shaken people here at WTAM, a lot of tributes coming in on the air right now. We're going to peek back inside the studio and listen to some of them. We'll share more of that coming up at 6, and we'll have more on Mike Trivisano coming up at 11. But Mike Trivisano dead at the age of 74. And interestingly, Betsy and Jay, true to Mike Trivisano, he never really would talk about his age. When somebody would ask him how old he was, he would say that he was 54 because he never wanted to be out of that key demographic, that key 25 to 54 age group for the advertising demographic, guys.
Yeah, his quick comeback was always old enough to know better, but he just had something to follow up with after that, too. And I do want to point out, WTAM is our partner radio station, and we do have close connections to them. Mike Trivisano was always an interesting one to talk to. I'd listen for days, and he'd be absolutely lambasting how awful the weather forecasts are, and then a big storm would come, and I'm his first call. So it's a very interesting conversation to have, but that man truly, Lena, you said it, has a huge, generous heart, and he will be deeply missed by many here in Northeast Ohio. Thanks so much, Lena.
You bet.
Well, we turn now to a developing story involving the death of Frank Q. Jackson, Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson's godson. Our Lydia Esparra joins us now with the newest details. Lydia, what do we know right now?
Well, we discussed it last night. We went on the air that there was an arrest, but they don't believe the man they arrested last night actually pulled the trigger. So this is what we know today. Arrested yesterday around 2 o'clock Wednesday, Robert Shepard investigators say Shepard lured Frank Q. Jackson to the east side, and sources tell me Jackson went to get his dirt bike. Police don't believe he was the shooter, but is responsible. Shepard is charged with aggravated homicide and murder and is being held at the Justice Center. Now, they're still searching yet for another suspect. So what they're telling us, maybe there were two people, because he was on a bike, lured him over there, and it was another person who shot him. But in the courts, you're just as responsible as the one who actually pulls the trigger. So it's possible you're going to have two people that are going to be charged.
So the investigation continues? It
continues, but they're very, very close. Sources tell me very, very close to getting that second man.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks, Liddy.
Now on your... Well, that sound, fireworks exploding, may be legal very soon. There is a new bill that is headed to Governor Mike DeWine's desk that he is likely to sign that will allow Ohioans to finally legally be allowed to set off consumer-grade fireworks that they have been allowed to legally purchase in the state for a while now. Will Ewick joins us now. He's live from the American Fireworks Store in Hudson. Will, this has been a bit of a roller coaster ride for many. I'm sure those that work at that store are included in that roller coaster ride.
Yeah, Jay, they call it the liar's law there for the longest time because you had to sign something here when you bought it saying you were taking it to Erie, Pennsylvania or Michigan, when everyone kind of knew, wink, wink, and a nod, that they were going to do what they wanted with it. Here, this family has owned this business since 1902, and they've watched this roller coaster go so many times. It always seemed to happen in May or June. Are fireworks going to be legal to set off in Ohio? And then something would happen, and as you can see behind me, they have a lot of fireworks to sell here for these people, especially here recently. Every June, Bill talked about, and then it got shot down. Well, House Bill 172 would finally allow fireworks to be set off on private property on certain holidays or holiday weekends in Ohio. Local communities could still restrict dates and times. The bill would also add a tax to fireworks sales to go toward safety measures like fire departments, while also allowing firework retailers to increase their size. Now, a similar bill went before Governor DeWine earlier this year, but he vetoed it, asking for changes. The Senate and House in Ohio made the changes, passed the bill. Now it's going to his office to sign. It sounds like he is going to sign this one, which is music to the ears of the Sorgai family here in Hudson.
We've been in the business, our family's been doing this since 1902, so we've watched the states around us all open up and us sort of just stay in the back burner. And we've had some of these goofy rules along the way where sign things, take them out of state, or say you're going to take them out of state. But we all know that the fireworks have been produced and shot here in the state for many, many years. Now it just gives, Ohioans the opportunity to finally do what they've always been doing legally and safely.
Now, even if the governor does sign this bill, it wouldn't take effect until July 1st, 2022, just before the 4th of July weekend. So Roberto said he would expect a little bit of a boom right before then, as people would be coming in and thinking, okay, I can safely and legally do this now. However, one of those votes, Jay, against it from the Ohio House was the Cleveland Representative Stephanie House. I spoke with her about her opposition to this bill and what she's thinking and hoping happens with it now. We'll hear more from her coming up tonight at 6 o'clock.
All right, well, very good. It's always been a bit of a head scratcher. You could buy the product here in the state. Yeah. You just can't use the product here in the state.
Can't use it. Yeah.
At least we're getting on the same page. Will Ewick live tonight. Will, thanks.
Also happening today, Cleveland Hopkins International Airport announced that Alaska Airlines will be providing nonstop service to Seattle next year. The service is expected to have an economic impact of about $100 million. The flights begin on June 16th, so you can start booking them now. Alaska Airlines will also add a second daily round trip between Seattle and Cincinnati and Columbus the same day.
It's always good news when you get another carrier to come to the state. I've flown Alaska Airlines many times, and I have to tell you, their service is tremendous. I always have had good experiences flying their airline. It's always nice, as I said, to have another carrier. I did some research today and looked to see how many travelers we put through the airport, Hopkins International. At one time, we were up to 14 million passengers a year.
So we're the
now,
hub.
Obviously, last year we were down to 4 million, COVID-based. We're at almost 5 million for the year to date.
Right.
Still have a couple of months to go. It would be nice if we could get that number back up to the at least 10 million plateau, which is where we were pre-COVID, and pretty steadily there.
Yeah, well, when we lost the Continental Hub, that was such a big loss. And, United is still paying for the D gates, which are just sitting out there as birdhouses right now. But, it's an interesting thing that we have all this room and there's capacity all over the place. Cleveland charges some of the highest rates for landings here in the state of Ohio, and that kind of puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage. So to have something new coming in, maybe that can hopefully someday start to offset some of those costs.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. All right,
still ahead for us here. All the fun around the Rock Hall induction ceremony is just getting started. We're live there with some of the events that are happening now, plus how music is thriving in other ways here in the CLE.
And of course, today is Thursday. That means it is Throwdown Thursday. But this week, we're changing it up just a little bit. Betsy and I are having a pumpkin carve-off. Who carves the better pumpkin? You'll actually get to vote, and that's coming up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And Matt, what is coming up in this forecast?
Well, it's a scary looking forecast, Betsy.
Great.
Today wasn't at all. Tomorrow, not looking so good, everybody. Saturday, not too great either, but we get better from there. Let's start with the good news. Your fall sports forecast, increasing clouds. That's out ahead of that system that's moving in. Continued mild, though. We were in the 60s today, back into the 50s tonight. We'll track you through the rain, how much, and we'll talk about some wind, too, coming up.
Welcome back to What's New. It is a big week for Cleveland. As you know, the city, of course, welcoming back the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Tonight, the party begins with the return of Rock Hall nights featuring live music and, yes, even a costume contest. Music not only has a rich history in our city, but it's thriving in other ways, too. Amani Abraham brings us more.
Inside here, at a separate reality, you'll find Augustus Payne, surrounded by what he loves the most.
Yeah, music my whole life. Carole King.
Boxes and rows of history in the form of vinyl records.
It seems like the music scene here keeps getting better and better. And
Payne says there's a growing interest for records.
yeah, when I first started, it was not like this at all, but it has gone through the roof in the last couple of years.
Visitors come in looking for a physical piece of an artist's work.
I'm going to go see Bob Dylan in a couple weeks, and so I like to pick up a record and kind of commemorate it.
It's something that Gotta Groove Records on Superior agrees with. They make records here in Cleveland for local, national, and international artists, and say they continue to expand their business as demand grows. And they all agree that there's something special about how a record feels, holding a piece of the music in your hands. Today, we listen to some Tina Turner, one of this year's inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. For Payne, the sound and feeling of a record provides a unique experience and an escape.
Just like a complete sense of freedom, pretty much.
Yeah, music means so much to so many people. We are here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ahead of the induction ceremony, what's going to be happening this weekend. And then, of course, the Rock Hall Nights, the series kicks off tonight with an inductee costume party, as well as, of course, live music and food. And we're going to have more for you coming up tonight at 6. Plus, you can find everything you need to know about this week's events on WKYC.com. Amani Abraham, 3 News.
All right, Amani, thank you very much. It's fun, really fun.
It is ridiculously fun. You will never see this group of musicians together, typically.
No.
Because they're from all over, all walks of life. And, you know, I think back to previous induction ceremonies, and you don't know who's going to be there. There's always surprises of people who come out and whatnot. And you think about the impact upstream from the actual event itself.
Right.
You have people coming into town early to get set. You have hotel rooms. Everybody has to be fed. There's Ubers. There's, you know, limos. There's all this stuff.
Yeah.
But this is where Burke Lakefront Airport shines.
Oh, sure.
Because tomorrow, before they do rehearsals and all that, we're going to start to see a lot of jets landing up there on the lakefront.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, it's like valet parking for jets over there. And it is so fun to watch. And, you know, we're right on the Lakeshore. And if you get some binoculars out.
You might be able to see who's getting out of those planes.
Not that I've ever done this, of course. But, yeah, you can see who gets out of the planes, and it's really fun.
You know, it was like that for the 2016 World Series.
Absolutely.
And the NBA championship.
Yeah.
So we've experienced that before, and it's always a lot of fun to gawk and to see who's coming in. But this provides a lot of economic impact for the city too, which is just great.
Well,
so
I mean,
money coming to our community is always good.
Hairdressers, everybody's got to get their hair done. They don't all have hairdressers when they fly into town, do they, Matt Wentz? Because of course your hairdresser already booked months in advance to do many people's hair, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's really tough to get him or her. I'm not sure who that is, but. Yeah, Betsy, I can't get over you with your
sporty clips, right?
right.
That's where we go.
I can't get out of you doing the binoculars up on the roof. Then
she may or may not have done that.
Right.
It was probably more of a suggestion.
Sure. Then the security guard snipers are like. Anyway, I'm sorry.
We got a looker up on the third floor of the Channel 3.
Yeah.
Looks a little like Betsy Kling.
Checking the weather.
Hey, Matt, your weather word today is rock star.
Great. Yeah, we'll get that in for sure. Hopefully the weekend, would provide nice weather for all those out-of-town visitors. But unfortunately, it's not going to be too bad. I think we'll have breaks. We'll get through it. Tomorrow really going to be the rough day. But today, what a day outside, right? We broke out some sunshine, had to scramble for those sunglasses again. We're back into the 60s today as expected. A nice southeasterly wind. And this is out ahead of the weather system that's bringing in that game-changing pattern next week. But rain chances hour by hour. This evening, if you have plans, we're fine, right? No rain. Clouds are starting to increase, though. But notice what happens later in the evening into the overnight. Those rain chances ramp up quickly as this system moves in quickly. So here are the increasing clouds, just some high-level clouds right now. We'll probably obscure the sunset, not expecting a whole lot of good sunset pictures tonight, but this system really ramping up. I mean, look at the real estate that this area low pressure is taking out as it continues to expand. We throw on the isobars. Those are the lines of equal pressure. When you get a lot of them, you can tell you have a strong low, and this low will continue to strengthen as it heads our way. It'll head right over Ohio tomorrow on into Saturday morning, and with it, it'll bring some rain. So let's time out when the heaviest rain is. This system overnight tonight coming in like a rock star. It's going to be coming in hot from the south. You can see some of the rain coming up on radar here as of 11 o'clock. It'll overspread the Cleveland area. Tomorrow morning, we're expecting a rainy rush hour. It's tomorrow during the morning and midday hours. I think we'll have the heaviest rain. Models in agreement, a pretty good slug of some moderate to heavy rain moving through northeast Ohio during that time frame. This will eventually push to the north. And look what happens by afternoon. Rain becomes more scattered. It'll still be on radar, but I do think we get some nice breaks. Temperatures not doing the 60s tomorrow with the clouds. We're only going to be in the mid to upper 50s at best. And then eventually this whole thing kind of pinwheels around us. You can see the rain showers come back here Saturday morning. Saturday, not a washout, but we're going to have those showers around, especially if the lake gets involved. May have some heavier rain towards downtown. Eventually that is what we'll be watching push out during the day Sunday for Halloween. So how much rain? Mentioned today would be the day to clean those storm drains. We're talking anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of rain before it's all said and done. It will be kind of hodgepodge, mainly dependent on where the heavy rain is tomorrow. Wind going to be another issue. These are your gusts, 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts, mainly during the day tomorrow. Then watch how it organizes around the rake. Saturday, we're talking lighter winds, but we still have strong winds going parallel to the lake as you get out towards the west. As a result, Lakeshore flood watch for our western basin there. They're going to have some problems with that inland flooding. Union Home Mortgage 7-day forecast. We're in the 50s the next 3 days. And then next week we do the temp tumble. We'll talk more about that in the next half hour. We're back after this.
All right, it's Halloween week, so we're going to mix things up for this week's Throwdown Thursday. Instead of Betsy and I doing our little trivia contest to see how much we know about a certain topic that we really know nothing about, we decided that we would carve pumpkins. Why not, right?
Because why not? Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So we put a picture of each of the pumpkins side by side. We don't tell you whose is whose. But we each carved the same image on the pumpkin. We put this results on the 3 News What's New Facebook page.
Not the results, the poll.
Well, yeah, but
You'll see the result.
pumpkins are side by side, and then there's the poll, and you can vote there on which one you think is best. If you're not on our 3
Do you have a favorite?
What's New page.
A or B?
I had trouble distinguishing between the two, quite honestly.
I did too at first, but then there was one very, very key characteristic that jumped out at me.
So you can search for the page. If you're not in, we'll let you in. We let everybody in. We're happy to have our group. But
Exclusive club.
We also had a pumpkin carving expert kind of show us the ropes a little bit. And I'll tell you what, we've been doing it wrong for a long time.
She brought her own knife.
I did.
I'm concerned.
Yeah, and it's a big knife. Don't be jealous.
It
Don't
is.
be touching my instruments. By the way, this is Mike Pickett of Illuminated Carves, and basically you are a pumpkin artiste. Obviously, we are not. So you're going to help us out with this challenge. Our challenge is to cut out these images. Where do you suggest people start when they start doing this?
Sure. So a lot of people want to immediately start pulling out the seeds and the guts of a pumpkin. That's a no-no.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So I always tell people, if you're going to use a template,
Yeah.
and if you're going to do some type of design that's on, very specific, to actually poke the template out first. Reason why is you don't want to actually, you don't want to have a slimy, messy pumpkin to have to work around. So we got 2 different techniques going. Betsy's going with a little saw technique, which is one way to do it. The other technique is to also just literally just use a poke or something sharp. You can just use a safety pin or a clothespin or something like that. to poke out the design.
Yeah, like tin punch kind of a deal.
Exactly, yeah.
Now let's talk about your pumpkins.
I carve on foam pumpkins now. I still can do real pumpkins, but the artificial ones.
You can get like shading with the artificial ones, right?
Yeah, so what you guys are doing now is what I would call a 2-layer pumpkin, which is essentially just cutting out parts of the pumpkin so the light comes through.
Yes.
The stuff that I do is varying or multiple layers of shading, where if you go, depending on how far deep you go into the pumpkin, is how much light comes through.
How are you doing over there, Jay?
I'm very focused.
Yes, you are. This is the quietest I've ever heard you.
You give me a task, and I'm just going to complete it. That's
no
all
wonder
I'm
Tracy
about.
lets you have that man cave out
That's
there.
exactly right. I am what I like to call poking focus.
Oh my gosh.
Right now. So now I'm going to use this, and I'm going.
Before we do that,
we're going to cut the top off.
We're going to cut the top off. Yeah.
And what do I use for that?
Well, you can use
Just
really
a regular.
anything. I don't know about Betsy's knife. That's
okay.
I'm
going to use this knife. Is
it's a
that
regular
a good one?
steak knife? Yeah. No. What you want to do? Go straight in. There you go. Just like that.
Straight down.
Yep. Straight down. Yep.
All the way around.
All the way around. Yep. Do it in a sawing motion, going. I gotta be honest. I've never seen anyone use this big of a pumpkin knife ever.
You did not grow up where I grew up then, because this is the only knife we can use.
That is scary.
Look at there, see?
That is disaster waiting to happen.
It's not.
Put that in my hand and I'm going to the hospital. I am really going to be challenged to see those little pinpricks.
So this is the fun part, right?
Right, yeah.
So there's no technique to it, really. It's just get in there and just get busy with it.
Like that.
Very simple.
Let's do this.
Just make sure you get the size of it. It's going to get all that goop off the side.
It does. It's fun to watch. And the kids can help with this.
Absolutely, yep.
And this is just a regular handheld mixer beater.
Yeah, I heard there's some competition going on
There's
here.
not.
No, Mike. We're doing this for pure fun, Mike. I'm just kind of looking at what it's supposed to look like. I will say the best part of mine is
yours
the top.
isn't lit.
I'm really proud of the top. Okay, that's a nice ambiance with the light. Very nice ambiance.
How about that?
Yeah. Now yours is still intact.
You put the design in the pumpkin and then you gut it.
Yes.
That was life-changing.
It is, because I used to carve the eyes, the face, and then gut it, and it was a mess doing it that way.
Now you
This
don't
one was much
obviously
neater.
you don't want to do intricate designs, but you punch it out and you kind of get everything set. You gut that thing and then you do the intricate cuts.
Yeah.
Done.
So Betsy put hers in the refrigerator when we were done because she's responsible that way.
Yes.
I left mine on my desk.
Yeah. It's not.
And man, I'm telling you, it was not pretty after about 3 days.
All right, so you can vote on whose pumpkin is the best, A or B. The actual picture side by side is down in the comments, but your voting is live right now, so we ask you to vote there. By the way, Mike will be at the Jack Casino this Saturday and the Browns game on Sunday if you're interested in one of his pumpkins.
We need your votes to decide who wins, so go to the What's New Facebook page and join our very exclusive club. It's so exclusive, anybody that wants in gets in.
That's it.
Coming up in the second half hour of What's New, prices skyrocketing for Thanksgiving dinner this year, just like everything else. We're going to tell you why and what's going to cost you the most.
Plus, have you heard of a hack attack? It happens more often than we think. Find out how to keep your personal information safe when we come back.
Mic check. This is what Cleveland media members are saying. Okay.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Thanks for staying with us on this Thursday afternoon, and welcome back to What's New. I'm Betsy Kling alongside Jay Crawford, and boy, today things really took a turn at about 4 o'clock.
Yeah, it did. That's when the news first hit our newsroom, and many in this business, you know, it's a small business. We know one another. We have stories about those that also work in the business, and it's been a tough day for everyone in the business, and particularly those over at WTAM. We begin this half hour by remembering beloved Cleveland radio host Mike Trivisano. We learned late this afternoon that the iconic Cleveland radio talker has died. Triv was 74 years old.
One of his fellow radio personalities, Dennis Maniloff, joins us live now. And Dennis, we're so sorry for your loss over there at the iHeart family. I know you guys are really reeling right now. How is everybody doing?
Not well. I mean, it's devastating, and we're still trying to process it. Triv was, as Jay mentioned, a legend, an icon. He transcended the industry. He was a great on-air talent. He was an incredible person off the air. So it is a very difficult day for sure here at WTAM.
D-Man, your show comes on immediately following Triv's every day. You start at 7 o'clock. I imagine you said goodbye to him yesterday on the transition and handoff to the show. You see him every day. Tell us something about Triv, the person, that we might not know from listening to him over the past 25 years on WTAM.
Well, you might know it because he talked about his philanthropic and charitable endeavors on the air, but what you don't know is that the stuff he talked about, including Coats for Kids, is just a fraction of what he was involved in charitably. I mean, this was one of the most generous people, if not the most generous person I've ever been around. He would help anyone at any time. He didn't want publicity about it. He would tell me and others, many others, you know, those who were really close to him, look, I don't want everybody to know all of the charitable endeavors that I'm involved in because I don't want to be forced to say no. And so a lot of what he did charity-wise and philanthropically was behind the scenes. Just an incredibly giving, incredibly generous human being.
Well, I know, and anybody who knows Triv knows, everybody has a story about him. So, D-Man, what is your favorite Triv story?
Well, I mean, just the fact that way back in, I believe it was 1990, when Sandy Alomar Jr. was trying to get into the All-Star game, and my buddy Dibbs and I stuffed the ballot box at Old Municipal Stadium, and Sandy Alomar Jr. wound up getting the All-Star gig. I'm not sure exactly what year, and I think it was, I'm not sure what the threshold was, but Triv took note of the fact that my buddy Dibbs and I had gone down to the ballpark and just shoved as many ballots in as we could, and so he made us a special guest of his at the ballpark, at the stadium, and that's actually the first time I met him. But before that, you know, when he was on the radio as the regular caller for Pete Franklin, he was Mr. Know-It-All. That's how I got to learn who Mike Trivisano was, because he was the great caller, Mr. Know-It-All for Pete Franklin. But just, you know, incredible person.
He really was a good man.
Well, Dennis, we want to thank you for joining us during, I know, is a difficult time for you and everybody at WTAM. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to Triv's family and to his radio family over there at WTAM. Thanks for joining us, and stay strong, friend.
Thank you very much.
We do want to mention Dennis is married to our digital news director, Denise Pulverine. I do D-Man's show on a regular basis. He's a great guy. He comes on after Triv every night. I can only imagine what that work environment is like on this day. It's got to be very tough.
They're certainly in shock right now, and they're not the only ones inside those iHeart Radio studios. Digital anchor Stephanie Haney joins us now, and obviously he's well known in Northeast Ohio and beyond. Thanks to all the wattage they have quite a reach. What are folks saying?
He is absolutely, Betsy. You are totally right about that. And Mike Trivisano, a man who spoke his mind, undeniably a media giant in Northeast Ohio, That's the message his colleagues are sharing today with his passing. Indians Live host and sometimes 3 News sports anchor Al Pulowski said that whether you agree or disagree with him, he was always genuine and true to himself, and he had a very charitable heart, and that the two of them shared great conversations on and off the air. Tim Alcorn, voice of the Cavaliers, called him by his nickname, which you have heard us say many times here, Triv, saying the icon and giant will be missed, and it's a huge loss. And like so many, Browns beat reporter Daryl Ryder shared his condolences to Trivisano's family, friends, and colleagues, calling him a trailblazer. One thing for certain, Jay and Betsy, a message across all of these platforms today. No one was expecting this. A big surprise today for the media family.
Yeah, huge loss. In that business, you have to be polarizing. You have to.
Right.
You have to talk about
voice.
things that half your audience will listen to and say, wow, yeah, that's a great thought, while making the other half so crazy they want to keep listening and call in. He had that knack. He could do that. He was absolutely polarizing. He had strong opinions, what you have to do in that field. And our industry, the radio talk industry at least, is less today in Cleveland with his loss. It's very sad.
I was excited because I made him laugh because I told him he was wonderfully just annoying. And he just thought that was hilarious. Oh, he had this laugh that everybody remembers.
His voice, first of all, he had the perfect baritone voice for
Yeah.
radio. You could always tell when Triv was on.
Thanks, Stephanie, for all that.
Appreciate it.
Well, we move on, and it is called a hack attack. It's much more common than we realize. Find out how to keep all of your personal information safe from cyber criminals.
And welcome to the farm. One country music star is opening up his own bar in the Flats. You may have heard about this. We've got more details to tell you when you can finally stop by. But first, our good buddy Matt is in with his weather in a jiffy. Hi, Matt.
Yeah, guys, I obtained exclusive footage today of Betsy and I doing our weather chat today. We were going long range, and I decided, hey, I don't want to say past day 7 or 8, so I'm just going to go hide in the weather couch over there.
Actually, you did this.
Betsy said, come back and finish it. You have to do the job. It's just November around here, but wait till you see it. We'll share that long range with you coming up. Completely disappears.
I still see you. All right, Matt, get out of the couch, and here we go, because we do have a little SNR that we have mentioned toward the end of the forecast.
Right. It's been pretty consistent in the forecast. I think that's our notes that we can take for each other now, is that, you know what, it's showing up and it's that time of year. We're getting into November here shortly, and we can handle it, right? It's festive up until you know when. Rain returning tonight, though, no problems in terms of precip type. You notice the raindrops really ramping up as we get beyond the midnight hours. Temps holding steady in the 50s tonight. Mild night tonight. Temperature not dropping off the face of the earth tonight. It's going to remain warm with that southeasterly wind as it continues. We're noticing the clouds increase now. Say goodbye to the sun, Lake County. It's not too much longer here. Seeing some rain starting to pop down towards the Mansfield, the Ashland area. That will work north in Lorain and Huron County. All of us will start to see those increasing rain chances as we go throughout the evening. You also notice there's a lakeshore flood watch out for Erie County, and as you get over towards the Toledo area in Michigan, that's because the water with this system on Lake Erie going to start to pile up. You know, those areas that traditionally see the lakeshore flooding, the beach erosion as well, all on the table as we go throughout your Friday and Saturday. All due to this system. You can see it winding up pretty nicely now. Pretty strong area low pressure centered right near St. Louis, Missouri now. All of this will translate off towards the east. It'll bring periods of rain in here over the next couple days. In terms of rainfall chances, though, as we go throughout the weekend, tomorrow, it's going to rain, all right? Tomorrow night, probably going to rain. And then Saturday, you see, we still have showers around. But Saturday night and then early Sunday, we start to taper the rainfall chances. And then if you've been following us, next week doesn't look as rainy or snowy as of right now. We'll talk about that in just a second, but we're going to kind of tamper the rainfall chances next week. Here comes the rain. National and Zymer, an hour-by-hour forecast. Pretty solid tomorrow morning for that rush hour. Might want to add a couple extra minutes to it, as well. We will have ponding of water on roadways. Heaviest rain looks to arrive during the morning hours and midday hours tomorrow, favoring areas out towards the east. Models pretty much agree with that. Rain everywhere else, though. Temperatures in the 50s. It will be breezy to downright windy at times tomorrow afternoon as well, especially the closer you get up towards the lakeshore. You can see how everything kind of pinwheels around with some breaks in the action later tomorrow. So not a washout once we get beyond the 2 or 3 o'clock hour tomorrow. It'll become more scattered. Saturday, everything comes back at us with more showers, a cooler wind off the lake. That's when that water will really start to pile up as you get out towards the western basin, and that rain will continue on into Saturday night. How much are we talking? 1 to 2 inches. This is a different model I wanted to show you favoring our eastern counties. But again, it's going to come down pretty good, so make sure all the drains and your gutters are clear of all the leaves that have fallen. Beyond that, the outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, 6 to 10 day outlook, cooler for almost everyone on the eastern half of the country. Big punch of cooler air coming in down. This is how it evolves. This low heads off towards the north. It'll merge with another low on Sunday. That will unlock cold air from Canada. You can kind of follow it along there. No rhyme or reason for a storm system around here. That's why we've kind of put down those rainfall chances, but you can see the lakes are going to be ignited with that. Perhaps some kind of storm later next week. Models diverge on what's going to happen with this. Bottom line, it's going to turn colder next week. We're going to be in the 40s, and that will open up, potential for a few flakes. When and where, still kind of in question right now, but it does look like one thing's for sure, 40s and 30s are going to be common. Union Home Mortgage 7-day forecast. Trick or treat looks good if it's on Sunday. Monday we clear things out, and then Betsy, we're dancing around with some lake effect next week. And we're in the 40s for highs, 30s for lows.
It's all good. Thanks a lot, Matt. Well, now to our top talker. You know, in 2020, Thanksgiving dinners were the cheapest they've been in decades, partly because people weren't having large gatherings.
Yep, that's exactly right. So what do you think's going on with this year's prices? This year's dinner is expected to be the most expensive Thanksgiving dinner in the history of the meal. So what's the reason?
We're sitting in almost a perfect storm of multiple issues at one time within the food and ag system.
We've heard that about so many different products, but now it's going to impact our Thanksgiving dinner. That perfect storm includes labor shortages, which we know are real, high transportation expenses, lack of truck drivers, price to move products goes up, bad weather, and trade policies as well. Last month, the Consumer Price Index for food was up 4.6% from last year. It's almost 5%. 1 year, you're paying more for food in general. Prices for meat, poultry, fish, and eggs all jumped 10.5%. That's when you really start to feel it.
Yeah.
4 or 5%, you might glance at the receipt for a second and be like, well, that's what everything costs. But when you add a 10% increase to things, that adds up fast and people start to feel it.
So you can imagine me digging through the freezer section at the grocery store.
Uh-oh. No.
Down in the turkeys, and I'm like, $28 to the side, $27 to the side, $29, whoo, side. I get the one that is absolutely the cheapest I can get. It's
really?
Like $24. If you dig deep, you can still find the small ones. Get them early, and don't laugh at me, you know it's true. Get them early, because all that will be left are the ginormous ones that you're not gonna be able to feed your family. The other thing too, you can just downsize to a turkey breast instead of the whole turkey. You can add a second meat, so you don't have to get as much of one thing.
Yeah, you can do that.
Rice is a cheap side dish.
I don't think rice is a traditional Thanksgiving dish.
If you're looking to save money,
okay, now let me ask you this,
because
we have this conversation all the time. You are thrifty, you love to save a buck.
I do.
So what is the taste difference between the $24 bird and the $29 bird?
Probably not much. It's all in the preparation.
So then you can say, you know what, I'm going to save the $5 on the bird, because I'm not going to notice that it's a lesser quality turkey.
It's not necessarily the lesser quality. I think when you start to get into things like organic versus non-organic, or basically with the whole bird, you're getting the dark meat as well as the white meat, the turkey breast part.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't even eat the dark meat. So is it being wasteful
you're right
at
about
that point? Stick within your size ratios.
I will say this: I typically never say a word about the meal. I'm thankful for it.
Very smart.
But if I start to see rice as part of my Thanksgiving dinner,
wild rice pilaf
Tracy
is
and I are going to have a talk.
delicious with cranberries and pecans. Oh, that's so good. And by the way, Big Sue's stuffing recipe is still on our website. It's one of the cheapest things you can probably make, because you have to use cheap bread, the cheapest white bread you can find. WKYC.com, or you can just do a search for Betsy's Mom's Stuffing. You'll find it. All right, startling statistic here. There is a hack attack nearly every 40 seconds. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so we looked into the best practices to prevent you from getting hacked.
Yeah, it's incredible how often these things occur. Cybercrime has increased, get this, 600% since the start of the pandemic. That includes ransomware attacks, and we know those are terrible. Experts say those happen more in the first 6 months of this year than in 2020 for the entire year. The bad news is there's no sign of hackers slowing down. The good news is there are things you can do to protect yourself.
Think about the way you interact, whether it's at home or at work. Everything is now digital. We're purchasing a lot more digitally. And within that, there's a lot more susceptibility and opportunity for crime. So hackers like to take that idea of urgency and chaos and confusion, and they'll always find a way to capitalize on it. So we encourage everyone, take a step back, think calmly and logically about what's being asked of you, and make sure you do the core basics. And when you do that, typically you're pretty well protected.
All right, so those core basics are having an updated antivirus program on your computer, multiple copies of your data, that's always an important one, and that can either be on a USB device like a thumb drive or in the cloud. And it's always best just to restart your computer every now and then too. That's an easy one. Well, coming up, a country music star is making his mark right here in Cleveland. Find out how you can be a part of the fun. We'll be back. Oh, don't forget to vote. These are the side-by-side comparisons on our 3 News What's New Facebook page.
Do you have a favorite, Bets?
I don't. I'm not going to say which one's a favorite. You really have to look close to see the differences, to be honest. Not just the light, but...
Stephanie's pointing to the left. She really likes A, people. She really likes A. Matt? Matt likes B.
We'll be back.
Mic check. What is cooking in Cleveland is a country music venue coming to the Flats.
It's time now to see what's clicking in Cleveland. For that, we bring in our digital anchor, Stephanie Haney. Hi there, Stephanie. Welcome back.
Hi, Betsy. Thank you. Glad to be back. I am letting you know about the Flat's getting another new addition. It is a country music venue and bar, and it is coming from multi-platinum country star Chase Rice. Here's why he's picking Ohio. Straight from him.
We're bringing a little bit of my farm in Tennessee to Cleveland, Ohio. My dad's from Grove City, so Ohio has always been a very special place to me.
After that, you can understand why it will be called Welcome to the Farm. It'll be right on the waterfront, and it'll hold just under 300 people with a center stage for live music and bars on each side, and they expect to open in December. And in the spirit of Halloween, 14 couples got married today in Akron at a Halloween-themed ceremony. One groom even dressed up in a Michael Myers mask for the occasion. The woman assisting the judge wore a jack-o'-lantern dress and handed out boo gifts to the couples. Now, not everyone dressed the part, but everyone did enjoy the theme at the Akron Civic Theater. Absolutely beautiful. Such great couples. And our groom who wore the mask, ever the gentleman, he does actually take the mask off when he tells his vows. I mean, if only to avoid confusion over who was behind the mask.
For real.
Am I right? You
it's
want to
like
make sure?
It's state law, isn't it?
Yeah, legally that could have been confusing. You're the lawyer, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think better safe than sorry. Now, here is a piece of Mike Myers trivia for the both of you, since he was wearing a Mike Myers mask. The Mike Myers mask is actually Captain Kirk. So when you look at that, it's painted white. It's William Shatner that you're seeing in that Mike Myers mask.
How random.
Oh my gosh.
So random.
I wonder if he's honored by that or doesn't think that's very cool.
He's into it. He thought it was a fun surprise.
Wow.
Now, whether you want to dress up as Mike Myers or William Shatner or anybody else, we do have your trick-or-treating list up on WKYC.com with all your trick-or-treating times across Northeast Ohio. So.
Yay. Okay, Stephanie, thanks.
Thank you.
William Shatner. I never knew that.
No.
All right, still ahead. It's almost time that we reveal which of us carved the perfect pumpkin. We're going to reveal your winner through your votes on our What's New Facebook page next.
Can we say passable instead?
Sure.
Not right now. Hey, Al, how are you? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Good evening and thanks for being with us. I'm Russ Mitchell. Breaking news tonight from the
Tributes are pouring. They don't hear me. Tributes are pouring into WTAM on the air here in outside WTAM.
Gotcha. You got me? Down here in Hudson at American Fireworks, where even if Governor...
Hello. Five for her mother, his mother. The funeral's on Saturday. Okay.
The shape of the pumpkin.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, all right. And it is time. He's talking smack over here. It is time to see whose pumpkin
I have
you
no
think
room
is
to talk smack.
worthy of the coveted leg lamp. And the winner is
This wasn't even close.
A, right?
I will say,
Hey, look at to 47.
So here's my shocker, okay? By the way, if you didn't know already, Betsy's is A. My shock is that I got 47 votes.
There were a couple people who said that they voted because it was the underdog.
I voted for yours, Betsy.
This is mine, yes.
I did. I voted for yours.
So we took two different tactics to actually cutting it out with the stencil.
Yeah.
I just cut through the stencil on mine. Jay did the pin pricking, and that turned out not to be the best
Let me say, as much as I liked our expert carver, tremendous guy, don't do the pin prick method, because we did ours in the dark, and I couldn't see the pokes in the pumpkin. They were impossible to see.
It got very frustrating.
Look at my windows down lower right. I'm going to say that cost me the title.
He literally was like, I'm just freehanding this.
But my bat is a rock star.
It's pretty close.
Isn't it? Come on.
It's cute. Here's how it looks now after spending a week in the fridge. How about that?
Show mine
and
what
by
it
the
looked
way,
like now.
Patty Buchanan Smith asked a question. Do you go in at an angle for the lid so it doesn't fall in? Yes, go for the angle.
Yeah, that's what I always thought.
Thanks,
too.
everybody.
We're out of time. Back tomorrow at 5. We'll see you then.
What matters most with Russ? And with Russ starts right now.
Now at 6, breaking news. Longtime Cleveland radio host Mike Trivisano has died. We'll take a look back at his iconic career. Also tonight, COVID concerns.
So the surge actually peaked about a month ago, so we still have a challenge to go through.
2 Cleveland hospital systems team up to reveal what they see is the future of the pandemic and what they fear the most in the weeks ahead. Compromise accomplished?
No one got everything they wanted, including me. But that's what compromise is.
Before his trip to Europe, President Biden is selling his new infrastructure bill. We'll take a look at what's in it and what's not. And fireworks allowed.
Business is going to boom right away.
A bill that would legalize setting off backyard fireworks, rockets through the Ohio legislature. Will Buick explains what that means.
From the WKYC studios, this is What Matters Most.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Russ Mitchell. There is breaking news tonight from the Cleveland media world. Longtime talk show host Mike Trivisano has died. The popular, controversial radio personality was 74 years old and had been on Cleveland radio for more than 30 years. Lena Lai joined us now live outside of his radio home, WTAM, with more. Lena, good evening.
Good evening, Russ. Yes, tributes are pouring in over the air here at WTAM studios in Independence, while colleagues inside are trying to come to the grips and mourning the passing suddenly of the legendary radio host Mike Trivisano, who passed away this afternoon at the age of 74. The longtime radio host of the Mike Trivisano Show passed away just hours before he was supposed to come in to host the afternoon drive. His colleagues tell me that they believe that he might have suffered a heart attack in his home. They're shaken because they too had just spoken to him on the phone and then suddenly he was gone. Triv, as he was known, was both beloved and polarizing with his really tell it like it is type of demeanor. His well-known saying, "I'm living in a world I truly don't understand," really resonated with his listeners as they talked every day about current events. Triv began his radio career back in 1987. Tonight, the president of iHeartRadio Cleveland explained Triv's enduring popularity.
He had this sort of gruff, goofy-looking exterior, but he was all heart. He was a tile layer by trade who lived in Lyndhurst forever, shook the hands of anybody that would come up to him.
And it really was his approachable demeanor, his everyday attitude, even though he was super successful in Cleveland media. You know, his generosity is also what he will be known for. His program director telling me that he has raised millions of dollars for Cleveland charities over the years, well known for his campaign organizing his Coats for Kids annual campaign. Tonight, the voice of Cleveland leaves behind his wife, Tammy, and 4 children. We will have more on Mike Trivisano's career and his life coming up later tonight on What's Next at 11.
Lena, you brought up the words beloved and polarizing. I think it's safe to say that his persona was loved by some, hated by some, and some just loved to hate him, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and we often said that people just either loved or hated him, but either way, they listened.
All right, Lena Lai, thank you so much. Moving on now, tonight we have new information on the suspect arrested in the murder of Frank Q. Jackson, the grandson of Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson. Lydia Esparra has the breaking details.
On September 19th, Frank Q. Jackson was lured to this housing development. Sources say he went there to pick up his dirt bike. 3 News was told several people begged the 24-year-old not to go. He ignored the warnings and went anyway. Around 9 o'clock, gunfire rang. Frank Q was shot at point-blank range multiple times. Around October 13th, surveillance video from CMHA is released. Sources say the man riding this dirt bike is the same man police have arrested in connection with the shooting. He's 29-year-old Robert Shepard. Investigators say Shepard lured Frank Q to the east side, and then another man did the shooting. Shepard was arrested Wednesday afternoon near East 46th and Central and is charged with aggravated murder. This is not his first run-in with the law. He does have a lengthy rap sheet. While sources say he may have not pulled the trigger, he is just as responsible. Now, police are still looking for the shooter. Every available body has been used to solve this case, and it continues. Meantime, we have mentioned this from last week, and it's a strange twist and irony that before this arrest, Frank Q's mother passed away, and she passed away last Friday, and so she doesn't get to see part of this case resolved. Her funeral is on Saturday.
On Saturday, and she was Mayor Frank Jackson's stepdaughter.
Yes, yes, but he looked at them as family.
Yes.
You know, for him, he adopted them very early, and so to him, this was their family. And I mean, I don't know what else he can do. I mean, how much more can he suffer over all these losses?
Yeah, tough go. All right, Thank you so much, Lydia. Appreciate it. An update now, that gas explosion we told you about yesterday at a mobile home park in Lorain County. The sheriff's office says 53-year-old Rebecca Squires died from severe burns after her mobile home exploded. This happened at the Westwood Mobile Home Park on Birch Drive in Amherst. Investigators believe a gas leak caused the blast, but it is still under investigation. The Cleveland Clinic and University Hospitals came together today to talk about the pandemic in Northeast Ohio. The hospitals say they believe the peak of this phase of the pandemic hit a few weeks ago. But they're still concerned about the number of hospitalizations and those who are in intensive care. There are also questions about the holidays.
We're concerned about what might happen as we look at the winter and the deep winter surge that we had last year. But we can do something to mitigate any other surge that we might have, and that is we urge everybody to be vaccinated and to take some simple precautions when they're together.
One of the doctors spoke of fears of a twindemic and encouraged Ohioans to get their flu shots in addition to getting vaccinated for COVID. Also today, Hopkins Airport revealed a new service from Alaska Airlines. It will offer nonstop flights to Seattle beginning next year with new flight options over the next several months. Airport management says the airline addition will bring an economic impact of about $100 million to our area.
In the past, at this airport, when new service is introduced, people decide to go when they hadn't planned on going in the past. So people can come to the Rock Hall, they can come to the lake, they can come to all the museums and all the things we have.
Alaska Airlines will also add a second daily round-trip flight between Seattle and both Cincinnati and Columbus beginning in June. Now, to the budget battle in Washington, with just 10 days to go before Democrats' self-imposed deadline to pass 2 giant spending bills. Negotiations between progressives and moderates have kicked into high gear.
To state the obvious,
President Biden today marking the 10th anniversary of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial and issuing an urgent call to continue the civil rights icon's legacy with policies that lift up struggling Americans.
for the first time in a couple generations, we're going to be investing in working families, putting them first and helping them get ahead rather than the wealthy and the biggest and most powerful people.
But it's divisions within the president's own party holding up his top priorities: a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill and a larger social policy and climate package. Moderate Democrats have forced the larger bill's price tag down from $3.5 trillion to below $2 trillion.
We're narrowing what the possibilities are as we see what we need to cover.
Possible cuts include free community college, limiting an expanded child tax credit to just 1 year, and slashing a major clean energy plan that key centrist Senator Joe Manchin opposes. That divide so deep, it raised questions of whether the West Virginia Democrat was considering changing parties. He denied that while admitting.
And I said, me being a moderate centrist Democrat, if that causes you a problem, let me know, and I'd switch to be an independent, but I'd still be caucusing with Democrats.
And a second moderate Democrat, Senator Kirsten Sinema, opposes tax hikes on corporations and the wealthy, but other Democrats say they're still determined to pass something by the end of the month. There is a good chance that backyard fireworks will become legal in Ohio. The state legislature has approved a bill that Governor DeWine has indicated he might sign. Will Ewick now on the ups and downs of this ongoing battle.
Been one of those things that we've watched, we've been anticipating.
Roberto Sorgai's family has been in business at American Fireworks since 1902, and in that time they've heard many rumblings about legalizing firework detonation in Ohio that always seem to stop short.
Sort of just stay in the back burner.
Meanwhile, down in Columbus,
oh goodness, I think this might be like my 4th time voting.
Ohio Representative Stephanie House has done her fair share of voting on firework legislation.
You know, there's just been this back and forth.
But now it appears there may finally be action after the bill Governor DeWine vetoed earlier this year was revised, then passed, now awaiting his signature.
We all know that the fireworks have been produced and shot here in the state for many, many years. Now it just gives, Ohioans the opportunity to finally do what they've always been doing legally and safely.
House Bill 172 would allow fireworks to be set off on private property on certain holidays or holiday weekends in Ohio, and local communities could restrict dates and times. The bill would also add a tax on fireworks sales to go towards safety measures like fire departments, while also allowing firework retailers to increase their size.
We have been pigeonholed and not been able to grow.
And while this may seem inconsequential to some, since the current law wasn't exactly followed,
well, we see it. We see it.
I mean, the state even dubbed it as the liar law.
Representative House didn't like the bill and voted against it, saying if no one followed the rules before, they may just push the envelope even further.
Expand an issue that has currently been a nuisance where we have not set up just better safeguards. I enjoy fireworks, I watch them, things of that nature. I'm also very understanding where we have community members where it can cause a lot of emotional distress.
But she's hoping if the governor does indeed sign it, the communities and residents will work together to make sure everyone enjoys the show.
If you do have a firework, please be mindful of those around you.
I think people are going to be excited. They really are going to be excited for this.
Now, if Governor DeWine does sign the bill, it still would not take effect until July 1st of 2022. But Russ Sorgai here says that he expects a lot of business to pick up leading up to that date, if that does indeed happen.
Okay, a lot more to come. Will Ewick, thank you. Coming up tonight, the party begins at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with some special events ahead of Saturday's induction ceremonies. We'll take you there next. And will he play? That remains the big question for the Browns on Baker Mayfield ahead of Sunday's showdown with the Steelers. The voice of the Browns, Jimmy Donovan, will have the latest. And Betsy's here. We'll look at the forecast. Hey there.
How'd you like that sunshine today?
I loved it.
Felt pretty good, didn't it? 63 to